Regular and irregular nouns in English grammar. Regular and irregular nouns are defined by the way they can be turned into singular and plural. In my previous video, you learned how to change singular nouns into plural nouns. You saw that some nouns can be turned into plural forms by simply adding s or by making small changes like changing y to ies and so on. Here are some nouns that can be turned from singular to plural by simply adding an s or changing y into ies. Cat becomes cats, book becomes books, pen becomes pens, car becomes cars, baby becomes babies, city becomes cities, box becomes boxes, and bus becomes buses. These are called regular nouns. Regular nouns follow a very simple rule. Even when you change them from singular to plural, their basic form or basic pronunciation remains the same. Plainly, if you can add an s or an es to a noun to change it from singular to plural, it is a regular noun. Otherwise, it is not a regular noun, it is an irregular noun. Nonetheless, you will notice that in most of the regular nouns, even the pronunciation remains the same. In regular nouns, the base word stays almost the same. So, when you are turning them from singular to plural, you are not replacing the word, you are just adding something at the end. Here are some more examples of how regular nouns can be changed from singular to plural. Simply adding s at the end. Dog becomes dogs, table becomes tables, chair becomes chairs, phone becomes phones, bag becomes bags, photo becomes photos, piano becomes pianos, radio becomes radios. By adding es at the end, class becomes classes, watch becomes watches, brush becomes brushes, potato becomes potatoes, tomato becomes tomatoes, and hero becomes heroes. By replacing y with ies, baby becomes babies, lady becomes ladies, story becomes stories. Even when there are small variations when changing regular nouns from singular to plural, the basic structure remains the same. Or you can remember one more thing, the pronunciation remains the same. Now we come to irregular nouns. The first thing you need to remember is that when you change an irregular noun from singular to plural, it doesn't simply change through adding s or an es in the end. Here are some examples of irregular nouns that completely change when you turn them from singular to plural. Man becomes men, woman becomes women, child becomes children, tooth becomes teeth, foot becomes feet, mouse becomes mice, and goose becomes geese. As you can see, when these nouns are turned from singular to plural, it is not just about adding s or es at the end. The entire word goes through a change. For example, goose becomes geese and foot becomes feet. This is the biggest indication. Unless someone tells you, you cannot know how to change an irregular noun from singular to plural. In the case of irregular nouns, you have no way of finding out what the plural form is unless you read somewhere or unless someone tells you. So a regular noun cat becomes cats when it is turned plural, and irregular noun dog becomes dogs when it is turned plural. The irregular noun man becomes men when it is turned plural, and child becomes children when it becomes plural. Irregular nouns become plural in different forms. In the case of man and men, foot and feet, tooth and teeth, and goose and geese, you just change a few vowels and the job is done. Some irregular nouns are changed from singular to plural by completely changing their spelling. For example, child becomes children, person becomes people, mouse becomes mice, and ox becomes oxen. There are some irregular nouns that remain the same whether they are singular or plural. For example, sheep remains sheep, deer remains deer, and fish remains fish, although these days fishes is also commonly used. In fact, using fishes isn't always wrong. For example, you can say, I caught 3 fish today, and you can also say, there are many fishes in the pond. You may say that if the plural of sheep remains sheep and the plural of fish remains fish, then aren't these sheep and fish regular nouns? Remember that for a noun to be regular, you should change it from singular to plural only by adding s or es. In singular fish and plural fish, since you're not adding any additional s or es in the end, it remains an irregular noun. In fact, what I have concluded is whenever you need to learn what a plural form of a singular form is, that is an irregular noun. There is no rule, there is no method. For example, without someone telling you, how would you know that the plural of sheep is sheep and the plural of fish is fish? Or the plural of child is children? You can only know that if someone tells you. That's why it's an irregular noun. Just as there are irregular nouns that sound like singular, even if they are plural, there are also some irregular nouns that remain plural even when they are singular, such as news, mathematics, scissors, physics, or economics. For example, you will say, this news is shocking, or mathematics is a difficult topic for many students. Similarly, there are some irregular nouns that don't have a plural form. Information remains information, furniture remains furniture, advice remains advice, and luggage remains luggage. For example, you say, I need some information, or she gave me good advice. You don't say, I need some informations, or I need some good advices. So, how do you recognize or how do you distinguish a regular noun from an irregular noun? It's very easy to turn a regular noun from singular to plural. All you have to do is add an s or an es at the end. But if you want to turn an irregular noun from singular to plural, it happens in an unexpected or an irregular way. Regular noun. Simply add s or es to make plural. Irregular noun. You need to learn or to find out how to turn from singular to plural. I hope through this video you have understood what are regular and irregular nouns and how to differentiate between regular and irregular nouns. If this video has been helpful to you, please like it, subscribe to my channel or click the bell icon so that you receive a notification when I upload a new video.